Have you watched Godzilla Minus One and are super emotional and also very confused with questions like how did Shikishima manage to kill Godzilla in the end? What was that venom-like thing in Noriko's neck in the end? Is Godzilla still alive? If yes, then will it return in the future? What was Mr. Kenji's original plan A and B, which of course didn't work? So if you have questions and doubts like this, then you are at the right place, because in this video, I'm here to explain the entirety of the ending of Godzilla Minus One, which will clear all the doubts we have related to the film. And before starting the video, I must say something, which is that this film made me cry like a baby. Yeah, that's right. During the entirety of the climax, I probably cried buckets, maybe just because the emotions were too damn high and beautiful. Specifically from this shot, everything went down and I started crying. Seriously, hats off to the filmmakers for such a masterclass of an achievement. It's never easy to make people emotional just over stories. Anyways, let's move ahead with today's video, so let's begin. So first of all, let's talk about Mr. Kenji's original plan of killing the Godzilla. So he had two plans, Plan A and Plan B, in which the Plan B was the backup plan in case Plan A failed, and the Plan A was bubble buoyancy, where first of all, according to the plan, they used a vacant boat as a bait for Godzilla, hoping that he would use his atomic breath for it, and he exactly did that. And after using atomic breath, it takes time to regenerate it again. And in between this time, with the help of two ships, they surrounded Godzilla with Freon tanks. Freon is just a type of gas commonly used as refrigerants in air conditioners and refrigerators, but in this case, it was just used for creating negative buoyancy around Godzilla, which would make the density of Godzilla and the water around it very low, which would enable it to sink underwater at a very high pressure, which Mr. Kenji thought it could potentially kill Godzilla, but we of course know it didn't happen. Well, now I guess this might have been quite confusing for you to understand, so let's understand this more deeply. So in this process, bubbles buoyancy with the help of a gas, negative buoyancy is created and bubbles are generated around the object, creating what's called a bubble curtain. This curtain of bubbles surrounds the object, effectively reducing the density of the water immediately around it. As the density of the water around the object decreases due to the presence of bubbles, the overall density of the object and the surrounding water system decreases. This reduction in density causes the object to become denser relative to its surroundings, leading it to sink. The rate and volume of bubbles produced can be adjusted to control the sinking speed of the object. More bubbles or a denser concentration of bubbles can accelerate the sinking process, while fewer bubbles or less dense bubble curtain can slow it down, and sinking rapidly at a fast speed can potentially kill any living organism. And here they sunk Godzilla at a very high speed at a depth of 1500 meters, and sinking rapidly to a depth of 1500 meters in the ocean would subject you to extreme pressure, which could indeed be fatal. The rapid change in pressure could cause severe injuries, where the pressure difference between the inside and outside of your body causes damage to tissues and organs. And that's exactly what Mr. Kenji tried to do here to Godzilla. But this monster has just another level of durability, as nothing happened to him. So they quickly moved on to Plan B, where they inserted highly pressurized balloons which would be inflated underneath Godzilla, causing it to ascend quickly back to the surface. The rapid decompression from the balloons was intended to be fatal to Godzilla, as it would also generate huge pressure around him, but even this didn't have a single effect on him, and he was just fine by even all this. And he also regained the energy for atomic breath. And the second he was about to do it, Shikishima came flying in his mouth and just busted his entire face. Now, how did that happen? So as Mr. Kenji had made his plan A and B, Shikishima also had a backup plan with him in case both of those plans failed, which was to have a powerful bomb with him and go straight in his mouth and burst it apart. And Mr. Tachibana of course helped him with this, where the purpose of inserting the explosive bomb-like blast into the plane that Shikishima used in his attack on Godzilla was to ensure that the attack would be fatal. Tachibana, the mechanic who helped repair the plane, modified it by adding the explosive charges. This was part of Shikishima's plan to crash the plane directly into Godzilla's mouth, as he believed that conventional weapons were ineffective against Godzilla from the outside, but more vulnerable from the inside. The explosives were intended to detonate upon impact inside Godzilla's mouth, causing massive internal damage that would kill him, and of course he succeeded. Now another question comes, that why was he so determined to kill Godzilla in the film, and why was he struggling so much mentally in the entire film? So it's quite complicated to understand. So Shikishima struggled mentally due to his survivor's guilt and the trauma he experienced during World War II. Firstly, as he fled his duty as a kamikaze pilot. Kamikaze pilots were the members of the Japanese Air Attack Corps in World War II who were assigned to make a suicidal crash on a target, typically a ship, These pilots were part of the Divine Wind Special Attack Unit. Kamikaze pilots were trained to take off with limited fuel, ensuring they would not survive the mission. Their planes were loaded with explosives and they would intentionally crash into their targets, aiming to inflict maximum damage. This tactic was used by Japanese military as a last-ditch effort to defend their country against the Allied forces during the final years of World War II. And Shikishima fled his duty and landed on Odo Island, claiming that his plane Mitsubishi A6M0 requires repairing, which was later revealed that it's in perfect condition and Shikishima, the pilot, had fled from his duty. Then we all know that Godzilla arrived there and killed almost everyone except Mr. Tachibana and Shikishima, which Shikishima heavily regrets later on, as he didn't do anything to save his comrades, as he had a chance to take a shot at Godzilla, although it would have had no effect on it, but he regrets for not even trying and letting his comrades die while he remains alive. Then later on, when he met with Godzilla again, he again lost everyone else except him, and again he couldn't manage to do anything. He was haunted by the memory of failing to save the mechanics on the island where he was stationed, and also later on when he met Godzilla again, then also he lost Noriko while also being useless and being saved by her. Although later on we all got to know that she was fine. So all of these failures weighed heavily on his conscience, causing him to feel responsible for their demise and resulting in severe survivor's guilt. Additionally, Shikishima's experiences during the war, including the air raids and the destruction of his home, contributed to his mental turmoil. His inability to cope with these events led to nightmares and deep-seated fear that he was being punished for his perceived cowardice. Throughout the film, Shikishima's mental health struggles are portrayed as a common issue among many World War II survivors, emphasizing the long-lasting impact of the war on those who lived through it. His story serves as a poignant reminder of the emotional scars that linger long after the physical battles have ended. And as I mentioned earlier, that Noriko's death affected him the most, but later on it was revealed that she has survived, but a very strange black mark is visible on her neck. What's that? So it is officially explained by the Godzilla Minus director Takashi Yamazaki that those are Godzilla cells or G cells. Now of course, what are these cells? So Godzilla cells, also known as G cells, are the radioactive DNA cells of Godzilla. These cells contain the essence of Godzilla's genetic material and are responsible for his regenerative abilities and unique characteristics. In the Godzilla franchise, G cells have been used to mutate and create many kaiju, contributing to the creation of various monsters that Godzilla has battled over the years. And now, of course, the big question arises that what sort of effect it will have on Noriko. So the G cells have merged with Noriko in the end of Godzilla Minus One are likely to have significant effects on her, both in short and long term. Where in short term, it could heal her injuries she got from Godzilla's atomic blast, probably can boost her strength as well, but in longer term, she can have radiation poisoning and other health-related issues. But there's something more that can happen to her which is far worse, which is that further mutation can take place inside her, potentially making a transformation of her into a monster. And it's not really new in Godzilla franchise. Similar stuff like this has happened in the past Godzilla films. In the 1989 film Godzilla vs. Biolante, the main antagonist of the film, Biolante, was created through the mix of human DNA and G cells, where a doctor named Genshiro Shiragami fused the DNA of her deceased daughter, Erika, with that of a rose he was cultivating and Godzilla's cells. The creation of Biolante was unintentional, as Shiragami was initially working on enhancing roses to withstand harsh weather conditions in Saradia, an arid country in the Middle East. However, a bomb planted by the American organization destroyed his laboratory and killed Erika, leading to his desperate attempt to keep her soul alive by combining her DNA with that of a rose and Godzilla. The fusion resulted in the birth of Biolante, a monstrous hybrid with plant and reptilian powers, including regeneration and corrosive sap. So the concept of human Godzilla hybrid isn't that uncommon in Godzilla movies, so it could also be a possibility in the future for Noriko. The director Takashi Yamazaki has hinted that the G cells would be the key to locating Godzilla in a potential sequel, suggesting Noriko may develop a special ability to sense or track the monster. However, the long-term consequences of harboring Godzilla cells are likely to be unpredictable and potentially dangerous for Noriko. The presence of the G cells also raises questions about Noriko's future, both in terms of her own well-being and her potential role in the Godzilla franchise going forward. Will she become a monster like Godzilla, or will the cells ultimately consume her? Only time and potential sequel will tell us. And of course, how can we forget Minus One's Godzilla, where in the end, the remains of Godzilla were shown, where it was observable that its heart is working, probably regenerating, and in the movie only it has been shown that Godzilla has regeneration abilities. So guess there's still a lot to get in the sequel. Director Takashi Yamazaki has an incredible vision for the franchise, but only time will tell us what exactly it is. And if by any chance you have seen this Japanese movie Maboroshi and want to get a clear picture of this film story as well, then you can check out this video. I have explained everything in detail. Thank you.